Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleeden Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I offer one-on-one angel sessions which take place over the phone. They're lovely. They're these 60-minute oases of love for you. And we have some heartfelt conversation. I channel the angels. And it truly is a lovely experience. And typically, if you're interested in booking, I can get you in within a few days. So I do have an online calendar that I am not good at keeping up. So if you ever look at my calendar and it looks like I have nothing available, please reach out because I almost always do have something open. I just don't like being beholden to a scheduler because I never quite know what I want to be doing on a certain day. So I like spontaneity in my schedule. So reach out. I'll fit you in. I also offer soul mentoring, which is where we meet weekly. And the angels and I help you move through a time of growth or healing or transformation. I only work with a handful of people like this at a time, and most people who are with me for soul mentoring have been with me for years. So it definitely is a really powerful way to support yourself on your path. And then I offer a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And almost all of my classes are smaller in size, 8 people or less, and we meet over Zoom. So it's an opportunity to come together in a very sweet circle of other heart-centered people. And there's always something different coming down the line. And the way you stay in the loop on everything I've got going on is by signing up for my mailing list at illuminatingsouls.com. There are 2 different mailing lists. There is the one at the top of the page, which is just my main mailing list, and you'll hear about all of my offerings. And then further down below is the daily inspiration email blast, and you'll receive an inspiring email from me every weekday. I also have a Facebook page of the same name, so lots of ways we can connect. But for now, the angels and I are cultivating a very beautiful sacred space where you can replenish and restore and feel the love that is here for you, and perhaps even drift off to sleep. So this podcast is born of 2 of my favorite forms of self-care, connecting with the angels and listening to a sleep podcast every night as I drift off. And when I created this, I hadn't really given much thought to not many of you in the Illuminating Souls family has ever heard of a sleep podcast before. So it's been a bit of a learning curve to learn how to talk about it. And yes, you can listen during your waking hours too. If you are going to be using this to go to sleep, kind of attune to your own sleep ritual. What works for you? For me, somewhere around 6 o'clock or 6:30, I pull the covers back and plump up the pillows so that my bed is ready for me. I'm somebody, actually not just me, my husband and I, we make the bed every morning. I discovered many, many years ago that if the bed isn't made, I don't feel as well during the day. That's just me. I'm not saying you have to make your bed. It's just what I do. So around 6 or 6:30, I unmake the bed to prepare it for sleep. And I also got my CPAP machine ready. I do sleep with a CPAP, so I get that all ready for the night. And I brush my teeth. And then I'm ready. I just kind of hang out, watch television, or I'm on my iPad, hang out with my husband. And then when my body starts getting tired, I just can slip into bed. It's genius. I love that. And so usually I'm in bed by about 8 or 8:30. Staying up a little later these days. I don't think I went to bed until 8:30 last night. And I pick out a sleep podcast to listen to, and I put in my earbuds. I set the timer so that it stops playing at some point. And then I listen as I drift off to sleep. It is a really lovely ritual. So this is your invitation to create your own. And so the other day I was contemplating this, that often in my work I talk about the duality of self. There is the practitioner me that shows up for the angel sessions and teaches. And I always do a prayer blessing before any of this work, and I feel the angels and source energy coming to me, and it allows me to ascend my energy, open my consciousness. So I make a shift as I do this work. And then when I'm not working, I am the earth girl. That is Laurel. And I am mercurial and emotional and dramatic, and I get upset and overwhelmed. All of the human things. I'm very, very human as well. So I don't expect myself to sustain the practitioner me 24/7. And one of the things I was contemplating that I love so much about making this podcast is for the first 15 or 20 minutes or so, I am definitely the practitioner here. It's this beautiful light, this energy, this sacred space I co-create for you. And then for the story time, which is usually the last 40 minutes of the episode, I am the earth girl. And I talk to you about things I find interesting. We go through old cookbooks or TV guides. I get to be the earth girl. So this podcast is really a reflection of both my practitioner self and my earth girl. I have a very earth girl story time for you today too. So I'm looking forward to getting to that place. But for right now, this is angel time. This is that beautiful time where we cultivate an oasis of light for you to connect. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and just release whatever it is, whatever your it is of the moment. Just let it go. And let the angels help clear this from you. Let the angels help lighten your load a little bit. Many, many years ago, I was writing in my journal, and I had this awareness that those things that felt so heavy and burdensome to me, if I asked my angels to carry it, it would likely just be light as a feather to them. It would fit on the head of a pin. But to me, it felt overwhelming. I am wired in such a way that it isn't an unusual thing for me to feel overwhelmed sometimes. I think that's a pretty human thing. And so I've learned that whenever I feel overwhelmed, I do my best to bring it to the angels and ask them for help in sorting it out so that it can flow to me with more ease. So again, take another nice deep breath in and just letting the light of the angels meet you where you are. And anything that feels heavy, overwhelming, burdensome, sad, whatever it is, just ask the angels for help in carrying it so that they can clear from you that which you need not worry about. and breathe. And the angels are already here, but I will call them in because I am guided to share this ritual with you. Take another nice deep breath in and out as we gently call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love, kindness, ease, effortlessness, and joy in service to each of our beloveds who are listening to this. Angels, I ask that you meet each of us where we are and help to lift us above so that we may have altitude where we can breathe deeply, where grace meets us where we are, and the light comes streaming in as we come into union with the love of God and the beauty of our own spirit. Dear ones, just take another deep breath in and visualize, imagine allowing it to be so that the angels are filling the space that you are in with a beautiful, soft, pink light. This light is filled with love that has been calibrated just for you. That the angels know what is in your heart. They know your concerns and your prayers. And they are here to support you. Take another deep breath in. And this beautiful light is rippling throughout your home, bringing blessings to all who share your space with you, rippling this light to everyone and everything that you love. And this ripple of light continues to expand. You don't have to expand it. The angels are expanding it. Because your life has a ripple of goodness, a ripple of love. So take a nice deep breath in, allowing this love to fill your body, your beautiful body, as we send this love to every cell of your body and every thought in your mind and every emotion in your heart. You, my beautiful friend, are a blessing in this world. This world is better because you are here. I also affirm that you and I and everyone who's listening, that we are entering into a really wonderful time of co-creation. If you follow astrology, Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and Aquarius is a sign that represents the unusual, represents technology and a new way of thinking and being. So I invite you to very gently contemplate how you're being inspired into the new. What growth areas are up for you? To notice the sparks of inspiration that are coming to you. My sense is that this is going to show up for each one of us in our own unique way. You might be guided to learn something new. There might be some new opportunities coming to you. There might be a wave of expansion or inspiration that finds you. But pay attention when these things show up. Oftentimes they come with a blessing wrapped inside of it. I've really been experiencing this in a big way over the past few months. And I'm contemplating projects I wouldn't have considered before. I am binging on Midjourney, creating art, and really in awe of what that's bringing to me in terms of healing and fulfillment and joy. And I'm teaching a Midjourney class right now, and I'm witnessing each one of the participants experiencing the same thing. That we're living in this new age where each of us has the opportunity to become the artist we always wished we would be. To draw, to create. Well, I guess not draw, have the AI draw for us, but to create. To have our thoughts, our visions transformed into images that speak to our hearts. Sometimes when I'm awake at 3 a.m. and Wes is still sleeping, I pick up my phone and I start creating art in Midjourney. And my soul is so happy. It's a very Aquarian thing to do. Right? It's technology, it's something new, it's expansive. So when we talk about Pluto moving into Aquarius, Pluto is a generational planet. So this is an era that we're moving into. But just as we make our way into it, to be aware of the new that is calling to you, because there are some gems wrapped up in it. And I affirm that you will open to your guidance and they will speak to you in your own way, in a way that is meaningful to you. One of the things that I think is so fascinating about life is we are ever evolving beings. I think I've shared this story with you before. I met a woman years ago at a metaphysical conference, and she was selling what she called prayer beads. And they were these very long strings of beads, maybe 4 feet long. And each one of the beads was unusual. They were glass-blown beads and charms, and I was fascinated by them, by these prayer shells that she called them. And she was an older woman, and I asked her, when did you discover this? When did you start beading? And she said, well, I'd been a hospital administrator for my career, and I didn't pick up a bead until after I retired. And then this blossomed. She didn't use the word blossom. I'm going to use that. And I remember thinking, that is amazing that there are still things we can discover about ourselves later in life, that all the bold strokes haven't yet been written. I would have never imagined that at 60 years old I would discover this artistry in me, made possible because of AI. The colors, the shapes, the images, the conversation it would start, not only for me, but for others. So I love to contemplate that we are ever evolving beings, and to make space for that life isn't something we need to figure out all the time. Sometimes we just need to listen to the breeze and spend time with it and let it whisper to us. So here's to the new. Here's to inspiration in places where we are being invited to blossom. So take a nice deep breath in, allowing the blessings of this moment to flow to you. And you have a good rest. And while you rest, the angels will be with you. And we're going to move on into story time. So for story time, it's actually inspired by one of the new things that is calling to me. It's a new thing I'm excited about and I'm really overwhelmed by because much of it is new to me. So I don't do well when I don't understand things or know things, and I'm on the path to understanding. Everything feels very complicated to me in that moment, and I do not like this part of co-creation. But let me tell you about the part that I like and how it is inspiring story time. So I love looking back and connecting the dots to see how sparks of inspiration find me. So if you follow me on social media, you will know that I am playing around with the idea of taking some of the artwork I've created in Midjourney and creating products from it. Simple enough concept with print on demand. Millions of people do this, but I don't know anything about it, so I'm having to research a lot, and the physical part of it is overwhelming to me. Like, who collects the sales tax? What am I responsible for? Do I ship internationally? How do I make sure the client gets what they ordered? You know, all of those 3D world things, which is not my favorite place to play, my favorite part of the sandbox of life. But yet there's this capacity to create like beautiful clothing and artwork that other people can enjoy. So I want to share with you how I got here and the tangent we are going to be exploring in this story time, which I'll give you a preview, is all about sweatshirts and my love of sweatshirts. But first I need to tell you how we got to the conversation of sweatshirts. So, as you may know, if you listen, I've been a bit obsessed with TikTok lately. And the thing about TikTok is once they show you one ad and you show any kind of interest, they show it to you 1,000 more times. So there are two different kinds of sweatshirts that are being marketed to me on TikTok. One of them, and I'm so sorry, I cannot remember her company name. She does these beautiful sweatshirts. They're thick, high quality, and they have the word like overthinker or anxious embroidered on them. And then on the sleeve, there's an affirmation. They're so lovely. They are just beautiful. And she goes up to a 6X. So if you have a normal-sized body, you might not have heard of the term size inclusivity. So as a plus-size woman, size inclusivity is very important to me. Not only that where I'm shopping has my size, but I want them to have sizes for people who are bigger than me too. A lot of plus sizes just run up to a 3X, which is great if you're a 3X, but what if you're a 4X or a 5X or a 6X? So this woman who has this sweatshirt company goes up to a 6X. And the thing that is fascinating is the 6X and the 5X continue to sell out. They're very hard to get. That she has to notify everybody when she's going to do a drop in her store. And the extended sizes are sold out immediately. Not only for the larger sized people who want one of her sweatshirts, but a lot of smaller sized people buy the larger size because it feels more cozy to them. So I started exploring who is doing print on demand 6X sweatshirts. And it's taken me deep into this rabbit hole of print on demand, which perhaps we'll talk about another time because I don't necessarily have lightness of spirit around it right now because I'm in the overwhelming part of learning. But it did make me think about my love of sweatshirts. So I thought we could talk about it. Perhaps you have a relationship with sweatshirts as well. So this is going to be story time, all about sweatshirts and the awesomeness of it, and for me, what my experience has been throughout the years. So back in the day, 60s and 70s, I never wore sweatshirts. Now, you may have, but my recollection of sweatshirts was they were for athletes, right? The football team or something like that. And I did not have a relationship with sweatshirts at that age. My first awareness that I could look at when I was contemplating this episode was the moment that sweatshirts became cool to me was in Flashdance. How many of you remember the movie Flashdance? And Jennifer Beals plays a dancer. And she has this big oversized sweatshirt. And she's cut out the neck ribbing on the sweatshirt. So the neck area is very loose and falls over one shoulder. It's very sexy. And she looks amazing. And I must have been, I don't know, late teens, it must be late teens at that age. We all wanted to be Jennifer Beals with that cool sweatshirt and our shoulder poking through, right? It's a very sexy, slouchy look, which this day and age, everybody wears stuff off the shoulders, so it's not a big deal. But back then, we hadn't contemplated this before. So I don't mean that our shoulders were always covered, but this slouchy, one-shouldered, casual, ooh, I just threw this on to go to the grocery store look was not a thing. I just had to look it up too. So Flashdance was in 83. So I would be 21 years old. So people started cutting out the necks of their sweatshirts. And this was also the era of the Limited and the Limited Express. And so they got into the sweatshirt game. And this was also the era of neon colors. Neon pink, neon yellow, neon orange. So also think Madonna. Madonna's happening right around now. We've got the Flashdance, slouchy sweatshirt. We've got the neon colors of the 80s. So my first intentional fashion sweatshirt that I can recall was a hot pink, oversized, slouchy sweatshirt that I loved. I loved this thing. And I don't even remember what I wore it with. I just can see it in my mind's eye. It came down to mid-thigh, which is the perfect length for a sweatshirt, if you're asking me. So that was my first kind of fashion comfort relationship with a sweatshirt, was that hot pink garment that somehow found its way to me thanks to the influence of Flashdance and Madonna and early 80s fashion. Oh, and yes, I put shoulder pads in that thing because it was the shoulder pad time. So I would take my shoulder pads out of my shirts from the Limited and I would put them into the sweatshirt, and do not think I did not look amazing in that thing. It was the 80s, and I was very happy with my shoulder pad, hot pink, thigh length sweatshirt. And then we start moving away from that a little bit, and I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but I remember somewhere around It was in LA, so it would be 85, 86, 87, somewhere around then. When we would go to my friend's house who had a pool, like after we'd all gone in the pool or whatever, the outfit that the girls would change into would be boxers, like men's boxers that were oversized, and a sweatshirt. Totally cute. So cute. And so I began living at home. I don't know how it is for you, but when I was working, I would love that moment that I would get home and I could take off my work clothes and get into comfy clothes. And my comfy outfit included boxers and an oversized sweatshirt. So, loved my sweatshirts. And then I found the best sweatshirt manufacturer, Galt Sand, which you may not have ever heard of them, but if you bought big oversized sweatshirts in the 80s and early 90s, you likely owned one. So back then, late 80s, outlet malls became a thing. Now, outlet malls back then were true outlet malls, meaning the manufacturers would bring their overstock, their stuff from the season before, and they would load up the store so you could get really good stuff at a great price. Versus outlet malls now, the manufacturers make product specifically for their outlet stores. So, late 80s, early 90s, was definitely late 80s for sure. I come home to visit my parents, as I would do about 4 times a year. And my dad, I think it was my dad, it's so interesting. I remember my dad telling me this versus my mom. I don't know that that's how it really happened. But he told me about this outlet mall that had just been built in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So Kenosha was about an hour and a half away from where we lived. Maybe my dad told me about it because he was an electrical engineer and he somehow knew about the development. I don't remember. Unusually, I just remember my dad in that conversation. I'm sure my mom told me about it as well. And so we decided to go to the outlet malls. Plural, did you hear that? Outlet malls, because there was more than one in Kenosha. It was wondrous. All of these stores, and they had fantastic merchandise at great prices. I can't even convey to you how special that was at the time. It was a religious experience. It was amazing. And so there was the I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear the white noise, but our heat just turned on, so there's a little hum. I'm sorry, I don't want to freeze my husband out as I record this, so there's a little breeze happening here in the room. So there were these stores in the outlet malls that I already knew about, right? So, for example, Lane Bryant might have an outlet store. But then there were the stores I'd never heard of before. Because at the time, I was in my 20s, and I had a lot of energy, and I loved to shop. So I could spend hours going in and out of every store to discover what was in there. To me now, that would be hell. I would have a horrible time. But back then, I was in love. It was wonderful. So, one of the stores I discovered was Galt Sand as we're wandering in and out. And I seem to recall it's because it was right around the bend from the Pepperidge Farm outlet store. My mother always loved a good Sara Lee outlet store, Pepperidge Farm outlet store. So I think at some point we had gone to Pepperidge Farm. Oh, and I think Mikasa was right in that particular strip. always had to hit up the Mikasa outlet store with my mom. My mom loved Mikasa, and they make things like dishware and glassware and things like that. So I seem to recall on one side of that particular parking lot was Mikasa, there was a Pepperidge Farm, and then there was Galt Sand. I promise we're getting back to sweatshirts. So I could do a whole episode on outlet malls, but this is about sweatshirts, so I will restrain myself. So Galt Sand was a sweatshirt company back in the 80s. I had looked them up yesterday in preparation for this episode, and they made athletic sweatshirts, and they had made a looser collar and a baggier fit and a heavy fleece. So they had become very big in athletic sweatshirts. They sort of had redesigned the sweatshirt as we had known it, and everybody was wearing them. Because if you go to a certain university or college or sports team, you're going to wear their merch. So the Galt Sand outlet store had tables and tables and tables of sweatshirts all stacked up. And I was riveted. Obsessed would be a better word. And so what would happen is every time I would go up to Kenosha, I would spend at least an hour in the Galt Sand store searching through all of their piles of sweatshirts. I was in the search for an extra large or the Holy Grail, a 2XL. I don't think they went bigger than that, but a 2XL was the Holy Grail. Then I wanted it to be a color that I liked and a logo that I could make peace with. I don't know that I really hated any logo, but that it was something cool to wear. Now, the hard thing is often I went to the Kenosha outlet mall with other people who then had to somehow keep themselves entertained while I went in and had my obsessive relationship with Galt Sand. I have clear visions of my mom or a friend going, "Can we be done here yet? Are we done?" My mother would never have said that. My mother would say, "Laurel, are you done?" She would never said, "Can we be done?" My mother would never be sarcastic. That's me. My mom would be, "Laurel, come on, let's go." So I really realized I had to go to Kenosha by myself if I really wanted to immerse myself at the store and find everything I wanted. So this became an annual or biannual. Is biannual twice a year or every other year? Twice a year is what I'm trying to say. Pilgrimage to Galt Sand to find my sweatshirts. So this really led me into the sweatshirt boxer sweats era of my life. My cool, casual, cozy relationship with sweatshirts. At some point, years later, the outlet malls were no longer as wonderful as they once were. At some point, Galt Sand closed, and at some point, I just lost interest. It's a weird thing with me. I get obsessed with something, and at some point, I'm done. It's like I get full. Imagine being really hungry and going to the Las Vegas all-you-can-eat buffet, and it's wondrous, and you filling up your plate, and maybe you can fill it up again, and then it's all just food. It's like, I'm done. It's all just food. Let's leave. That's how I am with things. I get very obsessed, very engaged, and then I'm done. So at some point I was done with Galt Sand. I had plenty of Galt Sand sweatshirts in my closet. I really would only wear one or two. That's also a weird thing about me. I could have 10 sweatshirts and I'm only going to wear 2 of them. And wait, you know what? I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. I know you can't wait because that was so riveting, right? The beauty of doing a sleep podcast. The bar is very low for me to be a good storyteller. Okay, so Galt Sand era comes to a close. And I still have sweatshirts, right? Because I have plenty of sweatshirts. And so I wear them. And then I don't. So at some point I don't. And I switch over to something else. A big cozy sweater, a flannel shirt. Something else becomes my comfy cozy after work wear throughout the next however many years. But I always have some sort of comfy, cozy article of clothing that I put on at the end of the day. So my love of sweatshirts gets reignited by a very unlikely source, which is Kohl's, the department store Kohl's. So I think part of the reason that I drifted away from my love of sweatshirts was because they were not size inclusive. You know, if you're going to have an investment in a plus size clothing company that's size inclusive, you're not really focusing on sweatshirts. Unless it's a plus size men's store. But for women, you're not focusing on sweatshirts. You're focusing on workwear, casual wear, athleisure wear kind of thing. But sweatshirts, I don't really remember being the kind of thing I was focusing on. And I was not a Kohl's shopper. You may have already known about Kohl's and have loved them for years. I had no relationship with them. However, a few years ago, I had to return something to Amazon. And Kohl's is one of the drop-off locations for Amazon returns, which I did not know at the time. And if you return something to Kohl's for Amazon, I don't know if this is always the case, but at the time, they gave me a $5 coupon for anything at Kohl's. I love a good coupon. And I didn't even know if Kohl's had plus sizes. And if they had plus sizes, did they have my plus size? Or did they just go up to small plus sizes? And so I wandered over to the plus size section. And they had these sweatshirts. These really awesome sweatshirts that were kind of big. And they also had shirts. And I don't remember what I bought that first time, but I was intrigued by this whole sweatshirt concept. I love a good sweatshirt. And so I went onto their website, and their largest size sweatshirt that they carried in the women's department, see, I didn't have to go buy a man's sweatshirt in a women's department, was a 4X tall. 4X tall. This must have been after my surgery. I don't know that a 4XT would have excited me too much at my heaviest weight, but I think at this point I had my surgery and had started to lose some weight. And so a 4XT on me was oversized. And you know what else? It had the thumb slips in the sleeves. I always wanted thumb holes. I didn't know what I would do with them, but I loved the idea of a thumb hole to slip your thumbs through so that the palms of your hands stay warm. I had never had a problem with the palms of my hands being cold. But if thumb holes were a thing, I wanted them. Sign me up. So they were these beautiful, large, plus-sized sweatshirts with the thumb holes, and they came in the tall size. And so I bought a bunch of them. I was like, I need them in every color. Again, binging me is at the party. So I bought a bunch of them. I don't mean like 20. I mean maybe 4, maybe 5, or maybe 4 that year, and I bought a few more the next year. So I have, I don't know, let's see, I have an oatmeal colored one, that is my go-to. I love, it's a 4T, 4XT with the thumb holes, and miraculously, I have not yet stained it. Like, it's oatmeal colored, and it does not have a stain on it yet, which is miraculous. So that is definitely one of my go-to sweatshirts. My other one is a gray one, which is shorter. It's not a tee, not a tall, and it has a hood, and the kangaroo pocket. So I love that one because I can put my Kleenex in there. My mom always had Kleenex up her sleeve, so I'm a girl who likes to have a piece of Kleenex at the ready because I was trained by my mom. So my gray one is my other go-to. So the oatmeal one and the gray one are the ones that I wear all the time. I also have a red one, a pink one, a blue one, a gold colored one. I have like 3 pink ones. This is crazy. I have just the crew neck one. I have the hoodie one. And I have one that has the mock turtleneck. I don't know what I need with all of these sweatshirts, but I have them. And I have a blue one, a baby blue one. So every year I look to see what kind of sweatshirts Kohl's has. And if you want to go look, they're the Tech Gear brand. It's a specific brand that I buy. Okay, so this is the daisy chain. The woman on TikTok who was selling out of her 6X, Kohl's, love their sweatshirts because I'm now back in my sweatshirt love. So I started thinking, I would love to be able to offer 6X sweatshirts because right around Christmas, right after Christmas, I started making these Midjourney images with plus size women wearing these colorful rainbow colored angel coats. Like they were artistic and gorgeous and beautiful, and everyone loved them. We were all talking about how we need these coats. We need these. And they don't exist. So that's how I got down the rabbit hole of, okay, if this woman is selling out of the 6X sweatshirts, I love a good sweatshirt. Can I find a print-on-demand company, because I don't want to have to buy inventory, a print-on-demand company that goes up to a 6X, if not bigger, and I could design these super cool sweatshirts with bright rainbow colors. And that, my friends, is what I have been obsessively researching over the past few weeks. So I have found several print-on-demand companies that appear to be able to do this, but I don't know what the quality is going to be. They're all based in China, and I've ordered samples. So a little bit down the rabbit hole, learning about this business. So I'm not looking to print a sweatshirt with just some words or artwork on the front, the way Galt Sand would have done that all those years ago. I can do that. There's lots of companies that will do that. I wanted all of it to be printed, and that technology is called sublimation printing, or all over print, AOP. So it's much more complicated because the fabric needs to be printed, and then the pattern needs to be cut out, and then the garment needs to be sewn together. So I've ordered quite a few samples from, let's see, 4 companies, 4 different companies. 3 of them are in China. One of them may be ordering from China. I don't know, but it's not represented as it's coming from China. And I'm having the best time. I'm having so much fun. These garments on the screen look beautiful. I have no idea what they're going to look like when they get to me. They may look horrible. The quality might be awful. I don't know yet. But it had me contemplating my love of a good sweatshirt. And how I got here. I was thinking, how did I get here where I'm thinking about doing a print-on-demand offering? You know, there's all these YouTube videos out there or TikToks where people go, it's easy, print on demand, open the Etsy store, link it up with Printify, you're just going to make money. It's going to come rolling in, right? All these people who make everything look easy. Not so easy, pretty complicated. So you have your drop shipper. So that's the company that's going to print your merch. And you have a storefront that says, hi, Laurel Storefront, or your storefront, whatever you're going to call it. So the customer comes to Laurel's store, makes the purchase. Hi, I would like a 6X sweatshirt. That I, Laurel, will have had to price accordingly because the drop shipper is going to charge a fee, then there's sales tax and shipping. And at some point, I'd like to make a few bucks because there's going to be a lot involved, and I'm not doing this and not making at least a little bit of money because I have no issues about earning a living. So you come to Laurel's store, you place your order. Behind the scenes, the order now goes to the drop shipping printing company. Drop shipping is a word that means a third-party vendor sends the order out as if they're you. So you come to Laurel's store, you purchase your super cool sweatshirt that has now been quality checked, and I have discerned that it is of the quality I could actually manufacture and sell to you. I'm not actually manufacturing it, but I have somebody who will. You purchase it. The order goes to this third-party company. They manufacture it, and then they ship it to you. Not too complicated, but then there's things like sales tax. Because if you live in California, I have to collect and pay sales tax on that transaction. Again, none of this is so complicated that millions of people don't do this all the time. I don't mean to make it sound like, oh my God, it's so hard. I just mean it's overwhelming to me because these are all new moving pieces. It started off simply enough that, hey, I think I can make this super cool sweatshirt from this company in China. Do you want one? And people are saying, yes, if it turns out good, sign me up. Well, now I have to build that interface to get that to happen. And that's where the complicated piece comes in. Complicated to me. I should just be very clear. That piece feels complicated to me. To someone else, it's super easy. And that's the wacky thing about life. We all have our wheelhouses of things we can do that don't feel complicated, but are complicated to someone else, right? So, watch this space. It may be that I am able to produce some beautiful garments and artwork that you can then enjoy too in your home, in the privacy of your own home. But first I have to get through some hurdles. That may not really be hurdles. They may just be little 1-inch bumps in the road, but to me they feel enormous right now. But I love this idea that my love of sweatshirts that was launched all those years ago in Flashdance. What a feeling. And the woman on TikTok who can't keep her 6Xs in stock. that maybe I can create something really beautiful that we can wear in the world that is bright and angelic and has good vibes and makes us happy. That's this Aquarian energy, something new, something you haven't considered before. So I have no idea if this is really going to happen. I don't know that the merch that I ordered for samples is going to look good. I'm in the place of the mystery of this particular endeavor, which is exciting, intimidating, all of it. It's all of it. So, what's your relationship with sweatshirts? What are some of the new things that are coming up for you? Where are you being invited to expand and grow into something new? So take a deep breath in. And here's to our beautiful life force. This beautiful life force that is you, and the beautiful life force that is me, that is ever evolving. And allowing us to experience the world anew, to discover new things about ourselves, to open up to our gifts and abilities and visions in new ways. So thank you for letting me share this with you and ramble a little bit and put all of this into the light. Send some prayers of light and grace that this goes easily and the samples are gorgeous, because then I'll have something really cool to share with you. And in the meanwhile, I send you love and gratitude. Thank you for allowing me to keep you company. I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I wish you love and goodness and grace and beauty. So we'll talk again soon. And I love you and take good care of you. Thank you.